everyone, welcome to Cheongfuli Weekly Report. Here we bring you the latest China's steel market prices and analysis every week. Steel spot prices continue to rise this week. Domestic hot-rolled coil (HRC) spot prices increased by RMB 20 per ton, week on week, while rebar prices rose by RMB 40 per ton. On the macro front, the probability of the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates by 25 basis points in December has climbed to 87%. Coupled with the Fed's halt of quantitative tightening, QT, starting in December, overall liquidity conditions have improved, providing strong liquidity support for commodities. Domestically, macroeconomic data remains lackluster and calls for reserve requirement ratio (RR) cuts, and interest rate reductions are growing, with market attention focused on the Political Bureau meeting scheduled for the 8th. On the industrial side, weekly output of the 5 major steel products, rebar, HRC, medium plate, cold-rolled coil, and section steel, began to decline, decreasing by 267,600 tons week on week, while pig iron output edged down slightly. Among the 5 products, rebar output saw the largest drop at 167,700 tons per week, followed by HRC with a reduction of 47,000 tons per week and medium plate with 38,900 tons. As temperatures drop nationwide, steel mills' willingness to conduct maintenance has gradually increased due to low steel profit margins and reduced orders, and production cuts are expected to continue next week. On the demand side, weekly demand fell by 238,300 tons compared with the previous week. With temperatures starting to drop in northern China this week, demand has entered a seasonal downturn. Both rebar and HRC demand declined, while cold-rolled products maintained stable demand driven by seasonal restocking needs. In terms of inventory, the destocking pace of the 5 major steel products remained unchanged from last week, with a total weekly destocking of 352,200 tons. Both social inventory and mill inventory decreased to a certain extent. By product, rebar destocking remained resilient at 276,700 tons, which exceeded expectations. For HRC, mill inventory shifted to accumulation of 19,000 tons, while social inventory decreased by 24,500 tons, indicating persistent overall pressure. Despite weaker demand this week, the destocking pace was sustained due to production cuts. In summary, both supply and demand contracted this week, and inventory pressure continued to ease. The maintained destocking pace of steel products has improved market expectations for the future. Combined with steel mills' expected shift to settlement-based pricing policies for subsequent transactions, traders' increased willingness to hold inventory will provide support for overall steel prices. Additionally, as pig iron output continues to decline, pressure on raw material markets will intensify further. However, supported by sound steel fundamentals and steel mills' low raw material inventory levels, the downside potential for raw material prices may be limited amid anticipated winter restocking. Therefore, despite the weekly drop in apparent demand, steel mill profit margins are unlikely to expand significantly, and cost pressure from raw materials persists. Nevertheless, the sustained destocking pace has reversed earlier pessimistic expectations, leading to volatile but limited downside movement in steel prices. Against this backdrop, it is advisable to consider moderately increasing inventory of steel products such as billets following price pullbacks. The institution believes that the inventory level has eased and the decline in output has provided support for steel prices. However, after the seasonal decline in demand, it is difficult for steel prices to have room for growth. With the downward trend in construction steel demand, the decline in molten iron production has exerted pressure on raw materials. Overall, steel prices have support but limited upside potential. In summary, steel prices have received support recently. From a product perspective, partial purchases of low-priced steel grades and steel billets can be considered. Okay, feel free to leave your thoughts, questions, or any related inquiries in the comment box below. And if you found this video valuable, don't forget to follow us for more updates. See you next week.